Now moving on to the public outcry in your city, Vasudha.
Absolutely. After a public outcry, like you rightly pointed out, Delhi government has rolled back parts of its vehicle ban, pausing impounding of old diesel and petrol vehicles. We are just days after enforcing it just 3 days ago. In fact, the crackdown on older vehicles became a major talking point across the capital, with many users criticizing the government's decision to scrap diesel vehicles in just 10 years, despite the road tax that they pay.
Well, is your vehicle okay there in Delhi, Vasudha, or do you have one, or do you just hitch a ride on Uber and Ola? I drive a 15-year-old car here and it's fine in Bengaluru, but in Delhi the policy had barred fuel refills for diesel cars over 10 years and petrol cars over 15 years. The government now plans to shift towards an emission-based system instead of using age alone to decide which vehicle are to be banned. Would that make my car safe to drive down to see you there in Delhi, Vasudha?
Absolutely, Veera. I do own a car, but this is a topic that's so technical. But pollution is what is on my mind. You take a risk, drive down, and we will find out, Veera. Important questions like why such a strict rule enforced with barely any notice period is something that everyone is raising. They're also talking about how the policy in some ways unfairly punished responsible ownership and also disregarded a vehicle's actual condition and also potential lifespan. And what happens now, because pollution remains a top concern for anybody who lives in Delhi. That is what we discuss now. We have Papa CJ, who's a comedian and leadership coach and author. We have Bertrand D'Souza, senior automotive journalist. And we also have Mr. Ratan Dillon, who is an off-roader and also rally driver. Thank you all of you for joining me on this broadcast. Let's first take a look at some reactions to this story.
Are you thinking of buying a luxury car at a cheap price? I'm not joking. Your dream has come true. How about a Mercedes-Benz C-Class or a 2013 model of Land Rover? Well, believe me or not, a man in Himachal Pradesh has got these two high-end cars at just throwaway prices. A resident in Delhi had to sell these two luxury cars, a Mercedes-Benz C-Class for rupees 4,25,000 and a Land Rover for rupees 8 lakhs. Why? All thanks to Delhi government's no fuel to old vehicles policy.
मर्सिडीज उस समय आई थी 40 लाख रुपए की, ये गाड़ी उस समय 65 लाख रुपए की थी, ठीक है। और मतलब आप ये लगा लो, अगर दोनों की कीमत लगाते हो तो दोनों की कीमत मिला के 10% पे दोनों गाड़ी वापस चली गई, जितने की खरीदी थी वर्सेस 10% पे दोनों गाड़ियों की सेल हुई है। और जबकि दोनों गाड़ी वर्किंग कंडीशन में थी, फर्स्ट क्लास थी, जैसे ऑल ओवर इंडिया में जो रूल है अगर उसके हिसाब से तो 2028 तक दोनों गाड़ी आराम से चल सकती थी। प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि ये रूल आने के बाद बाहर वालों को सबको पता है कि दिल्ली वालों के पास चॉइस नहीं है, उनकी गाड़ी का रेट जो है बोलोगे उसी रेट पे उसको बेचना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि 10 साल हो जाएंगे तो खड़ी भी नहीं रख पाएगा। अब कम से कम फिलहाल ये गवर्नमेंट ने कर दिया है कि खड़ी तो कर सकते हो आप।
Nitin Goyal is not alone. There are many who are fuming over the Delhi government's flip-flop over the fuel ban. In a sharp U-turn, the Delhi government has withdrawn its recent decision to restrict fuel supply to older vehicles at petrol pumps. The controversial order, which came into effect on July 1, had barred 10-year-old diesel and 15-year-old petrol vehicles from receiving fuel, sparking widespread criticism and confusion.
Because of the technological and extremely complex system and lack of integration with neighboring states, there is a public discontent and outcry. In these said circumstances, it is not feasible to implement this system where fuel is being denied to EOL and of life vehicles identified through ANPR installed at petrol pumps in Delhi.
Well, several reactions coming there. Let's head straight across to our panel. Papa CJ, if you have an old car that you're planning to sell at a throwaway price, let me know. We'll pick it up here in Bangalore.
See, Veera, for starters, you mentioned your car in Bangalore has done 15 years. But given the traffic in Bangalore, cycles in Delhi cover more distances than cars in Bangalore. Achha, off the top,
all right, you're taking a dig in my city.
Off the top, I wanted to state, I've just finished 20 years in stand-up comedy. I'm doing a tour across India in July and August called Papa CJ, still standing up. Tickets are on Book My Show.
And we need to put you through a pollution check right now.
I will be going for all the shows in cars that are less than 10 years old. How's that for a plug?
Well done, well done. Ratan, Dhillon, you have a
Yes.
Mercedes and you've thrown a challenge to the government to say, prove that it's polluting and I'll give that car up. But
Yes.
it's not always true for all cars, right? Mercedes, you might have maintained your car well, but there might be many, many cars which are not maintained well that are polluting.
Yes, that's right. That's my point. That's everyone is saying that it should be based on the pollution, not on the age of the vehicle. As we are getting the PUC certificate every 6 months or 1 year, that should be the criteria for the pollution or the scrappage policy, not only based on the age of the vehicle.
Right.
Right,
Mr.
you're saying-
D'Souza, how do you, I mean, for me, as a person living in Delhi, the public health concern is foremost. And the fact that vehicular pollution actually is the second topmost cause of pollution, after dust. How do you see the rollback decision? Is it a flip-flop? Was it damage control? Or do you see this as a necessary action?
I think the examination is a necessary act, and I think a lot of this.
We'll have to fix your audio in just a bit. Papa CJ, back to you.
I think he's in a very polluted area.
Audio pollution.
Yes. Papa CJ, what are your views on something like this, sir? Because, a government rolling back a policy because of public backlash, do you think that that's nice? Because there's also this question of inconsistency.
See, let's be honest. Firstly, even God doesn't take people away who are not healthy, who are healthy, right? So it should have to do with the health of the vehicle, not the age of the vehicle. So if people are looking after the vehicles like they're looking after their bodies, even God doesn't take you away early. So why should the government? Also, a backlash is expected. Even Leonardo DiCaprio gets a lot of backlash when he has age restrictions. So I don't think I need to elaborate on that.
No.
But yeah.
You took a dig on Bangalore. Let me take a dig back on your city, Delhi. The problem,
What?
Papa CJ, is that in Delhi, no matter what rules you put, nobody wants to follow it. So if somebody turns around and says that check your car for pollution, I'm sure you guys will find a jugaad to make your car look non-polluting, even if it is polluting.
Yeah. Enforce the rules then. Enforce the rules. You see, what you're saying is just because you can't enforce the rules, you should have proper pollution under control. Ensure that there is no corruption at that end when people are getting the vehicles checked.
Okay.
You just don't say, okay, ban all the cars because you don't have the ability to police it properly.
Right. Mr. Dhillon, let me ask you this. There is no scrapping policy right now because this has been rolled back. Would you be open to scrapping your vehicle if there were better financial incentives or clear benefits for the user?
Definitely, everyone gonna scrap it if we get the better incentives, and the government assures that the policy gonna reduce the pollution in Delhi. If the government is granting this, everyone gonna scrap this for the policy, but not without any guarantee. I don't think so. Anyone gonna do it for the scrappage just for the government as usual normal policy. It's like government is assuming it as a gadget more than an asset. For us, for the middle class family, the vehicle is more of a asset or that which our memories are attached with, and we don't want to replace it like the normal gadget replacing.
Mr. Dhillon, the only problem is that middle class families don't own Mercedes. You say you own a Mercedes, so I doubt largely if you're in the middle class bracket at all. Mr. D'Souza, would it be a fair assessment to turn around and say that given the kind of traffic conditions and distances in Delhi, for instance, I did just 10,000 kilometers in Chennai in my car in the first 1 year. Whereas the moment I moved to Delhi in the first 1 year, I ended up doing about 20,000 kilometers. Given that kind of distances in Delhi compared to other cities, would it be fair largely to say that cars which are over 10 years old, which are diesel and 15 years in petrol, have run their life?
That's not. Most of these cars have been designed and developed run for a really large number of kilometers, safely, non-polluting, and be in the best condition possible. Now, maintenance, one issue. What I was trying to say earlier also was that, unfortunately,
We'll have to again fix your audio. Papa CJ, tell me, as a comedian, as somebody who observes society, are bans...
Sorry?
I think his microphone is 15 years old.
Sir,
We'll have to see if it's running on diesel or petrol.
yeah, there's nobody to see that now because Delhi has rolled back its policy. Papa CJ, are bans, universally effective in actually reducing pollution? Because, this is a question that everybody keeps asking. If you impose something, you think people will actually agree to this, or do you think that basically is just useless?
See, I think a ban is an easy way out, right? Like you can try and ban comedians, but you can't ban points of view. So similarly, you can ban vehicles, but that's just a blanket because you're trying to make your job easier. Just because a car is over 10 or 15 years old, your main focus is what? To keep the environment clean, to keep the air clean. That's what you should be checking for. You can't just presume because a car is of a certain age that it is. I mean, check the actual pollution that is coming out of it.
I think so.
You're making a very
more
fair
of a
point.
lazy
Check
policy.
the actual pollution. No, but you can say lazy policy because you're not the one who's implementing it, Ratan Dilan. I'm just going to play devil's advocate here. You want to prove your Mercedes doesn't pollute. Your neighbor will have a Lamborghini which doesn't pollute. But the third guy will have a Maruti car which may pollute. How does the government categorically go down in such a large city to crack down each and one? Which is why, at some level, from a policymaker implementation point of view, they just turn around and say that 10-year-old end your car, 15-year-old end your car. Much like, somewhere in the Western world as well, people don't own old cars.
So I want to make a point here that as per the Urban and Housing Affairs Ministry of the Delhi, there are around 1.5 lakhs to 2 lakhs street vendors. Among them are 3,000 to 5,000 sugarcane cart vehicles that have the diesel engines running that are polluting more than 100 times than a normal car. Does the government gonna ban them also? Have they made the incentive or the policy where they gonna keep make them the e-policy, like for the loans for the e-vehicles to replace those cars with the e-vehicles?
Right.
Isn't that more harmful than the cars?
No, absolutely. Papa CJ, closing remarks from you, sir.
Closing remark is, Veera, आप बैंगलोर में बैठ के मजे ले रहे हो. That's why you can. आपकी गाड़ी दिल्ली में होती
You
तो
got
और
it right. नहीं दिल्ली में नहीं होना चाहते हैं हम. I don't want to be in Delhi.
Yeah, but Veera has been most excited and curious about this topic, which is why I think, Veera, the larger consensus, even amongst our panelists, seems to be the fact that age cannot be the sole decider for emission control. What we need is also a better system to understand if our vehicles, which are already on road, are better maintained or not, isn't it?
This problem wouldn't exist if every car owner turns around and says, if my vehicle is polluting, I'm going to throw it away. Unfortunately, we don't. And that's why you need to have laws. But there are multiple sides to it, as Papa... Yes, go ahead, Papa CJ.
I'll give you a closing remark that no matter what age you are, as long as you're 18 plus, you can still come for my India tour. Papa CJ is still standing up on Book My Show.
All right, you're plugging your show. But that's all we have time for on the show this evening.
You guys keep calling me for debates.
Right, Veera, that's all we have today. With that, it's a break, and we'll see you on the other side of this break. But of course, Veera and I will see you on Monday with a brand new edition of the Southern View.
Thank you.